my name's Shan. Today I'm going to be talking about how I worked in the TV and film industry in the UK as a hair and makeup artist. If that sounds interesting to you or you'd like any advice on breaking into the industry, then please stick around. So I'll start off with a bit of background about myself. When I was 17, I went to college to study theatrical and media hair and makeup level 3. I didn't go in with a vision, so I just knew I wanted to do something practical, so I was creative. While I was studying, I was looking at career options for once I'd qualified. You could do like prom, bridal, events. You could be a makeup artist that primarily works with models, so you'd work on photo shoots, for magazines. Like, what a life that'll be. That'd be amazing. You could also just work in counters, so you could work in department stores and possibly be a manager of a counter or a brand rep in the future. First step was research, so I did a lot of research on reading blogs, looking for videos, but unfortunately there weren't really any videos about breaking into the TV and film industry as a hair and makeup artist. So it was really something that, I read books, blogs, websites. It was really like wherever I could gather info. I started planning on how to break into the industry. It's not easy if you don't know anybody that's already working in it. I believe that, the expression, it's not what you know but who you know, really encompasses TV and film industry. I had it said to me a lot of the time while I was working in the industry, and it just really resonates with anybody that I'm sure is attempting to break into the industry. So I had to work from the ground up. I joined, like Facebook groups, websites. So if you've heard of Model Mayhem, any website where you can communicate with people that are trying to find crew members for their small productions, uni students at the end of their degree have to do like a final. I think it's a feature film or maybe a short film, but they produce their own film, so they don't really have a budget, so they'll get crew on board of similar ages to like produce their final feature film for their dissertation. So really during this time I learned about working with cameras. I worked on a fair share of music videos, TV pilots. You're at college, your focus really should be on building your portfolio. So make the most of these websites. Even if you don't want to go into being a makeup artist for models or, for fashion shows, I did a few fashion shows, but it's all going to work towards your credibility and your physical portfolio that you can take forward in the future. And it's really those experiences that are going to shape you going forward. So I do think that like any experience that you can do, I know it's unpaid and there's like a bit of a taboo about doing things for free in the TV and film industry, because every time you are doing it for free, you are taking the job away from somebody who, who may have put a lot of money into their education and equipment, and you're basically undercutting them. However, at the start, people start by collaborating. So most of the time on the ads it will say unpaid but exposure, which you should be careful of. But at the same time, if it's you and a model and somebody's offering to take a photo and offer a location and it's not going anywhere, it's just for yours and the model's portfolios, then that is, something that you're going to have to do. So what I did was follow up any calls for makeup artists for small productions or student films that that you're going to be able to travel to and then stay with without majorly putting yourself out of pocket. So normally if somebody's creating a TV pilot, for example, They'll offer accommodation and food in exchange for your time and work. Personally, I worked on many low budget things, so I did charity fashion shows, I volunteered to be face painters at events, worked on TV pilots, small music videos, things like that, just to kind of build my personal experience and portfolio while all the time growing my network, creating friends, people around the same age that are also trying to get into the industry. That's always useful, because if they make it in before you do and they're told that they can bring someone along, that could be you. So it's important to know that you're making friends, but you're also networking. So keep it professional, but also have a fun time. Keep your eye on the prize, but have fun during the journey. On one of the TV pilots that I worked on, I met my ex-boyfriend, who at the time was working as a second AC, so assistant cameraman, and he actually went to university in South Wales to study film. So he had a lot of contacts and a lot of friends already that were still in South Wales that were trying to break into the film industry. The good thing about if you go to university or you pay for a course is they usually do offer a first kind of experience within the industry. So I know if you want to be a makeup artist, there are courses, especially in London, where you can pay, I don't know, say if it's like 10 grand for the course, part of that is that you'll also be taken along on the next feature film that one of the teachers is working on. So that's your first experience in TV and film, like an actual production, basically bought. But obviously, if you don't want that expense, like personally, I didn't have parents that could just fork out that and not blink. So that would have had to be a debt that I would have taken out, and it just wasn't something that I was prepared to do at that time, because I knew that that wasn't the only way in the industry. So yeah, it's a bit of a longer way around, but it's definitely a more scenic route. You get fun friends along the way, so don't be afraid to be in it for the long run. So it was actually a friend of my ex-boyfriend's that got me my first job in the industry. It was a TV series called The Bastard Executioner, and I believe it was written by Kurt Sutter, so that's the same guy who wrote The Sons of Anarchy. And it was filming in South Wales. I think they literally, they would have filmed the pilot and they were literally going from episode 1, and one of my ex's friends was a runner on the show, and while he was working, he was at the catering van, and the head of department said out loud to people I'm after makeup juniors, does anybody know anyone that can help out? So basically asking for a referral contact, somebody that was already known within the industry, to be handed over to her for this job. So he handed over my number, which is ridiculous. And I remember the day I got the call, it was the head of department saying, I've been given your number, and do you want to work on this as a makeup junior? And I was just like, yeah, definitely, yes. I remember asking me questions like, what kit do you have? What have you worked on before? Do you have a car? Will you be able to travel? Will you be able to stay in Wales for the duration of filming? And of course I was like, yes, 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 to all of these questions. And she was like, right, well, be here. I'm pretty sure it was like, can you be here tomorrow or the day after? And then I got off the call and was saying to my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, and his friend, I don't know if I can do this. She's phoned me and she wants me to do it and she needs somebody, but I have no experience and I don't know where I'm going. luckily the guy who actually gave her my number said that I could stay with him because he lived quite close to set. And fortunately, I did have my own car, which is one thing that is obviously your first car is an expense, and I know some people just can't afford that instantly, but one thing going into this career is you need to be able to take yourself to and from set. So that was like, if I hadn't have had the car but had the experience and the contacts and the kit, then I might not have even gotten the job. So that's one thing that's like, it doesn't have to be an expensive car, but get yourself a cheap car, take lessons, learn to drive, because you're going to need to get yourself to and from set. That is essential. So anyway, sidetrack. Got the job. Yeah, and it was like my first experience on a real TV production. If I hadn't have got that first job, I wouldn't have had any of the following jobs in TV and film. So it's so important to, expand yourself at first, meet loads of people, attend events, build a portfolio, like buy yourself a car. Because if all that hadn't have come together at that right time when the opportunity presented itself either, then I wouldn't have been the person to get that job. So it is who you know and not what you know, unfortunately, but it's not any less important to build yourself a portfolio, a kit, experience, and a network. So that's my experience on breaking into the TV and film industry in the UK. After that experience, I also worked on a few more TV sets and a few film sets too. So if you'd like me to talk about those, then that's definitely something that I could film a video on in the future. But I just don't want to overload and actually like talk to death, basically. So if you're interested, leave me a comment and I'll look at creating another video. But I hope you could take something from this. Most importantly, it's like, believe in yourself, to be honest, because if I'd have just thought, oh well, I could get a counter makeup job straight away, or I could work for myself and do a bit of prom makeup or whatever, then I wouldn't have had this experience. But you have to believe in yourself. If you don't know anybody in an industry, then it is possible to get in. You just have to work hard, network, and definitely get yourself a car, because you want to be able to travel all over the UK and world in the future, because that's part of the fun of it. So thank you for watching. I hope I haven't talked your head off. Yeah, hope you've learned something. Thank you. Bye.